I did measure my nighttime erections. When you're young, you have a lot of erections, and then as you get older, they increasingly go down until there are none. Represents physiological health, sexual health, cardiovascular health. There's this little device, it's like a centimeter cubed. You put it on the base of the penis. My baseline measurement was 132 minutes, average for a 46-year-old. 4 erections over the entire night, 140, 132. We looked at the evidence and said, how do you actually increase nighttime erections? And we did a few therapies, and then we increased the erections to an average of 179. That's 8 minutes shy of the movie The Titanic. Better than the average 18-year-old.
Was there one thing that you can identify that was the needle mover for that? Sorry.
You can talk about like measuring the heart and like what age is it, and they do therapies to improve it, and people are like, don't care. But if you say like, I made my dick have more boners, and people are like, what?
Yeah, people are definitely going to want to know that part right there. I have really been in this like health, and probably not necessarily to live so much longer, although I do have a goal of living to 120. What dove you into this? I thought I saw a story that you were single and you wanted to find someone that dove you into it, but I don't know if that's true or not. So how did you get so deep into all the health?
I mean, the short version of the story is that, like, if we imagine hanging out with Homo erectus 1 million years ago, and we say, Homo erectus, can we ask you a few questions? Like, where's water, where's shelter, and where's food? Then Homo erectus could probably tell you answers to those questions. But if we said, tell us about the future of the human race or the evolution of the species, Homo erectus wouldn't say anything interesting. We'd just, in fact, laugh at what they said. And I think the most interesting question right now on planet Earth is, are we basically as primitive as Homo erectus it was 1 million years ago relative to the very immediate future? And so what's motivating to me is this is not really about health and wellness. Like, this is a means to an end. To me, it's that we may be able to step into what may be the most magnificent experience in this part of the galaxy. And if we could really sober up and realize this time and place, if you take that as baseline, you're like, that's the motivation, then you back into like diet and supplements and food. But without that context, you basically just map to what we know to be true today, which we know with Homo erectus, like they had no clue what was coming. And so that's the context in which I think about it in my mind. And then everything else is kind of like a backdrop to that contemplation.
Well, what would make this the most magnificent time then?
So if you look at the progression of history and you go back on any time period, let's take the 1400s. And let's say we pose the question to them, how big is reality? And like they could say, like, well, I can look up in the star and I can see the moon and the stars and like there's something going on. They wouldn't be able to tell you about the microscopic world, how it goes down to the size of quarks. They wouldn't be able to tell you about the electromagnetic spectra. They wouldn't be able to tell you about computational intelligence, like this idea that we can build this machine that is a knowledge generator. And it's like existence has just expanded to be bigger and bigger. And so they really only understood a very small slice of reality. And even though our experience is very similar to theirs, like we fall in love, we break up, we have ambition, we fail, like we get back up, like we have all these same human experiences, like that hasn't changed. But existence has just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, and we just don't know where we're at on that curve. And so the thing that's interesting is we're now building artificial intelligence, which if you just look at the math of how fast it's improving, it's reasonable to contemplate it's going to far exceed our abilities in every capacity and potentially open up brand new things we can't even think of. And so I think, to me, the most compelling question is, can we be humble enough in this moment to breathe in that we may be Homo erectus, that we may literally know nothing relative to what will be known in, let's say, 50 years, 100 years, 300 years. Timeframes, we could actually be alive.
AG1 is a foundational nutritional supplement that delivers daily nutrition through gut health support and is backed by multiple research studies, so you can trust what you're putting in your body. I trust AG1 because, unlike so many products, their entire formula is backed by research studies, not just the ingredients. Over 14 years, AG1 has been focused on innovation with a trusted, nutrient-dense blend that's the perfect complement to my diet. I can trust their research and how they're validating the product working in the body. AG1 has been third-party tested for safety for years and is trusted by experts and medical professionals, giving you one less thing to research. They're posting results online from their studies, and it's interesting to see how many of the study participants had the same feelings of energy, focus, supported digestion, all from using AG1. For example, at 30 days, 80% of the people in the research study noticed less gas and bloating. 97% of the people in a research study felt more energy. If there's one product I trust to support my whole body health, it's AG1. And that's why I've partnered with them for so long. It's easy and satisfying to start your journey with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase at drinkag1.com/prettyintense. That's drinkag1.com/prettyintense. Check it out.
What is human then? Because I think the fear is that with AI, with Neuralink, with all of these technologies coming through, that we will become, what is human? Will we be human anymore? So I'm curious, like, what's your definition of being a human? What keeps our existence here and not becoming something completely different, or eliminating us with under the guise of technology, under the guise of evolution?
I mean, so let's imagine Homo erectus was posing the same question. Like, they're right hanging out with each other. They're like, look, we really love ourselves. We think this is great being Homo erectus. We don't want to lose the situation, right? But really, they are single agents in this bigger landscape of evolution, and we are as a species. No one actually can define what it means to be human. Like, if we were all to attempt at doing it, we would give a different definition. If we were to say what is desirable about being human, we'd all have a different answer. If we said, what do we want to be in the future? Do we even want to preserve being human? We'd all have a different answer. Like, there's nothing we would agree upon in even what is a concept of human. And we're in this big tapestry where we're evolving into something new and different, radically so, like beyond our ability to comprehend. And so first, I think the idea that we have control over stating our preference, like, hold tight. Before we go any further, let's first define, like, no one's going to stop to define that. Like, people are moving forward with their own self-interest. And so, like, my endeavor is trying to basically, knowing this is the case and knowing it's inevitable, it's trying to find the wisdom to get the big things right.
So is human just maybe defined by something that evolves? What would you want to keep? If you were able to sort of frame up being a human, what is it about what we have going on that you would want to keep?
I'm now to a point where I'm not attached to anything other than being dead.
Don't die.
I'm open. I'm open to every
Neuralink. You'd boot up.
I'm open to everything.
Would you do it?
I'm open to everything. There's nothing I would say no to. I mean, the idea that I would have the knowledge to foreclose an opportunity, that I could basically map. To me, the unknown is much more exciting than the known, and I'd rather be in the explorer than I would certainty.
So then what scares you? Because I think some people are scared. I would probably consider myself one of them, to lose. I would say that part of being human is consciousness. And I would say that and that the special nature of that is that we're connected through the quantum field to all timelines, potentialities, past, present, and future. It's all accessible if you tune into the right frequency. Stress is a common factor that affects everyone in today's fast-paced world, leading to various issues. What if the answer to a better stress response is in a key nutrient? I'm talking about magnesium. Actually, I'm specifically talking about Magnesium Breakthrough by Bioptimizers. This one-of-a-kind product is designed to reverse low levels of magnesium, which could be leading to a multitude of other health problems. What sets Magnesium Breakthrough apart is its ability to support healthy levels of stress hormones like cortisol, a better balanced stress response in your nervous and hormone systems, and healthy production of GABA, the relaxing neurotransmitter, leading to a more peaceful and better flow state. That's why I recommend Magnesium Breakthrough by Bioptimizers. It's the only organic full-spectrum magnesium supplement that includes 7 unique forms of magnesium for stress resilience and better sleep, all in one bottle. Simply go to bioptimizers.com/prettyintense. In addition to the discount you get by using promo code PrettyIntense, there are always amazing gifts with purchase. Go now to bioptimizers.com/prettyintense and get your magnesium breakthrough and find out this month's gift with purchase. And if you take my consciousness, that's what I'm calling it, away, and you make me a computer, now I'm limited to a database, right? That's like much smaller than the field database. And that it takes away some potentiality of me as a human being. So that's a fear that I have. So do you have any fears about the technology that's coming through, or just at all, other than don't die?
Yeah, I think like I learned, so I was chronically depressed for a decade. And my brain would say to me, you should really probably commit suicide because life is hopeless. And, there's no reason to exist and everything is awful and you're never going to feel happy again. Like it's the darkest space ever. Yeah. And so I learned reading a book that my thoughts are not me. That, these things that come up in my consciousness, like life is depressing or hopeless.
Michael Singer, Joe Dispenza, they did a great job.
Yeah.
Michael Singer, I think, does a really great job with his,
his approach.
Yeah.
So that was like the first time where I was like, oh, wait a second, I'm not my thoughts. Like whatever's popping up in my consciousness, that's not me. I don't own that. I don't have to reconcile with it. It's just like things that are popping up. And then I learned about a bunch of behavioral psychology of how my brain plays tricks on me with cognitive biases. Sure. And then I successfully went through all these steps where I concluded I didn't really trust anything or anyone outside of maybe some core principles of mathematics and physics, which even those are, they evolve as well over time.
Yeah.
And so I guess when I hear you express the fear of so you have an idea of what it means to exist and you're proposing a theory, I would say I'm not sure we know enough to be fearful. And even when we do have justifiable reasons to feel fear, when those things actually happen, somehow things are always okay. Like somehow we adapt to the circumstances, somehow we reconcile with the change, somehow things always seem to be okay one way or another, even the most tragic of circumstances.
Life finds a way.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the side of a mountain of all rocks and you see a tree growing out of it, or the sidewalk. I mean, this is the memes and the pictures of life always finds a way. It does. And we are resilient. And in fact, the body itself is a fractal expression of that too, that the body wants to heal. Again, part of the reason why I got more into health was because I needed it. And I just kept telling myself that my body knows what to do if I give it the right environment. It wants to heal. It wants to... Ironically enough, we're entropy is inevitable, but also the body knows what to do to heal. That's an interesting topic. How do you rectify the difference between that? Because the entropy is happening, but yet the body itself also, given homeostasis and an environment that's conducive for healing and regenerating, also wants to do it. What's the intersection there?
Agreed. So with my project 3 years ago, that's exactly what we did. Is I was trying to identify that all day I built technology, I built software, and the software went from version 1 to version 2 to version 3. You could reliably build better software, which is great. But when it came to my own personal behavior, I made the same errors every day. I would eat too much, or I wouldn't exercise, or I would
evening Bryan that I've heard about.
That's right. I would do things that I don't want to do. Right? I would tell myself I don't want to do this thing. And then the time would arrive and I would do that thing. And I just couldn't stop myself from doing it. It's like this thing we all struggle with. And so I was like, okay, wait a second. This is weird. My mind is doing these things I don't want to do, and I do it repeatedly. I can't stop myself. So I wanted to build myself more like technology, where I just routinely, I improve in a consistent manner. And so I gave my body authority. So I started measuring all of my organs and I said, okay, heart and lungs and liver, you're now in charge. So you speak with data. We're going to measure you and get all your data. You work with science, and then we're going to design a protocol. And so, for example, what you eat for breakfast is not like what the mind says, I think I want to have blank because I feel like blank today. The body's going to say, actually, we're going to eat this based upon our measurements, based upon the scientific evidence of what is appropriate for health and wellness. And so basically, you give the body all the tools to do all the rejuvenation itself. If the body can heal, the body can be in top shape, but oftentimes our minds are our most meaningful nemesis.
You don't believe then that there's information coming from the body that's like, God, I'm craving salt right now, and you need salt. Does that quantify into the calculations?
Yeah, it would show up in a biomarker.
Was there anything that came through that your body needed that you were like, that? Surely it had to be like organ meat, right?
Yeah.
Wait, you don't? You're a vegan?
I'm vegan.
Gosh, that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Because like oysters, organ meat, beef, grass-fed, these things are like ranked as the most nutritionally dense foods. So it's crazy to me that you're vegan.
Okay, so what we did is when I got into health and wellness, when I said, okay, this is the objective, I jumped in and it was very clear to me that there was a major problem because everyone disagreed with everyone about everything.
It's true.
Like everyone. And
there's something wrong with everything and right with everything. I was having this conversation with my girlfriend about chia seeds. She's like, do you eat these anymore? I'm like, actually, no, I don't. She's like, why? I'm like, I think maybe estrogen or something like that. She's like, it's always something.
Exactly.
It is.
Exactly. It's always something. And so I wondered, like, is there an answer? Maybe not like the answer, but like an answer. And so I hired a bunch of medical professionals. We went through all the scientific literature, all of it, all the lifespan, health span. And then we ranked all the power laws of the evidence. So like, what can we actually identify in the evidence actually works? And then we put all that evidence into me. I did those things. And then I read out all the data and I shared the whole thing with the world for free in an open source fashion. And as far as I know, I have among, if not the best biomarkers of anyone I know. And that's across the board. That's my speed of aging. That's my total bone mineral density. It's my cardiovascular capacity. It's my, like, everything about my body. And so I basically wanted to show that you can arrive at a quantitative answer instead of these storytellings of like, do you do that blank? I heard that blank. There was like a structured way.
There's a way to individualize health for yourself.
But the thing is, I did population level science. So I looked at population level studies and then I used that for my inputs. It wasn't even on my own. So I did small personalizations, but it was really looking at population level studies.
Explain more about what that is. Are you saying like a general framework for what the right range is? Or what do you mean by that versus, because you're obviously reading your own biomarkers. So there has to be some level of individualized science to it. So what do you mean?
Yeah, so like if you say what should be in a diet, and then you evaluate all the diets in the world. So like the simplest way people understand this is they say the blue zones.
Okay, yeah.
And a blue zone is like, okay, in this region they eat blank.
Right.
And in this region they eat blank. And it's like one input to an overall longevity score of a given region. But if you look at these various diets, there's evidence around these things. Like, for example, extra virgin olive oil. And so extra virgin olive oil is one of the most scientifically valid dietary inputs. So it's 15% of my daily diet, but a very specific kind of extra virgin olive oil. And so I don't need to measure my biomarkers to know that extra virgin olive oil is good for me. So it's used like at a population level.
Okay.
And so you can make all kinds of other things like, broccoli is also generally good for most people. Now there may be some exceptions, but generally speaking. And so you can make these kind of general statements.
Right.
And that's what I built. It wasn't on my specific body. It was on these population level insights.
So are you doing this for yourself or are you doing this for everyone?
Both. Yeah.
So I feel like you need to not do vegan for a while.
Well, people can add meat. I mean, like,
we need you. You're the one that gets tested.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you.
I mean, I think it's an ethical reason, right?
It is.
And yeah, speak to that. I'm just curious.
It's the only preference I've made in all of my endeavor. Everything else, we've just followed the science and the data. I think we want to be what we want AI to become. So we are currently the most powerful species on this planet. And in this position of power, we get to decide how we treat things that are in less powerful positions. So that includes, in many like animals are certainly on a less powerful position. Like we do with them as we please. in some ways, Earth is a less powerful position. We get to do to Earth what we please. Now, sometimes Earth, strikes back with power, like in hurricanes and like these major weather systems. But generally speaking, as the most powerful species on the planet, we really do rule with an iron fist. And so AI is emergent, and no one knows what AI will become. But we have enough data to know that it basically is better at us in many domains and becoming increasingly better in other domains. So soon enough, it will be better at us than all things. And so in what way, shape, or form that takes place, we don't know. But in many ways, it will be much more powerful than us. And in that regards, we will no longer be this apex predator on this planet.
That's true.
And so we are moving. And so the entirety of what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to call attention to this fact that we are in this very small window of rapid evolution. It's happening faster than any of us can see. And we need to have our heads on straight to survive this transition and have another day.
Like what is left of you if you're uploaded to Neuralink? What is left if this becomes we become more technology oriented? Like, what's left of us? Like, what happens to procreation? Like, what happens, like, you say us, but what is us?
Nobody knows. And I know it's like it's the hardest thing to contemplate. Like the thing the human mind dislikes more than anything is uncertainty.
For sure.
And when there's a window of uncertainty that opens up, we fill that void so fast. And we basically spill words, and we just want to fill that void until it goes away. And we want to fill it with like all the things we want to know. So I've been hosting these Don't Die dinners at my home.
Oh yeah, I've heard you talk about that
for the past few years.
And they're like philosophizing, basically, right? Which sounds so fun.
In many ways, it's this conversation. I won't spoil it, but it takes about 2 hours for people to start and then end at the finish line. But it really is a nuanced conversation that takes time to kind of breathe through. And in our world right now, we are starved from deep thought. We see things on social media and we have like a 2-second attention span.
Yeah. And 6 doesn't even do it anymore.
Exactly. And so our ability to get any deeper than 2 seconds. And so our resolution of our vision, like we just see this immediate. And I'm suggesting like there's this really big thing happening and we're blind to it because of how the world is structured. And you combine that with our dislike or discomfort with uncertainty, and we just kind of collapse. Like we are not able to rise to this moment with the strength that we need.
What are the best questions that have come up, or what is the best question? Is it one question that you guys basically sort of have a conversation about, or is there multiple? And I'm just curious, like what has been the most like divisive question, if you can share.
So there's 5 questions in the thought experiment, and I don't want to spoil it. I just wrote it up in a little guide, and I'm going to try to find. So others who have gone through it, they express interest in hosting a Don't Die dinner themselves. So I've written this up so people can do it. So
like a framework. So
exactly.
like
here's
spread across the country. This is like, it's not a cult.
Maybe it is.
It's a community.
Yeah. I mean, everything's a cult.
That's right.
Right.
That's true.
I mean, CrossFit's a cult.
Yeah.
Politics is a cult. Like, yeah, exactly. Right. Driving, race car driving is a cult. Like,
you have your own special language. You have your own routines. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
That would be a fascinating thing to do.
So could we get like 1 million people to have Don't Die dinners? And this is try to pull us out of our 6-second world and actually take a deep breath and say, like, can we have the wisdom to openly think together about what's really happening in this moment?
Yeah. Well, let's get into the Don't Die and then a little bit more of the nuanced things that you're working on and doing and have tried. As you walked in, and, of course, I see your shirt, and I said that I had spoken to David Sinclair many years ago. And, obviously he's an expert in longevity. And I asked him is it about living hundreds of years for a really, really long time or not dying? Or is it, or how, what do you mean? How, are you trying to live 200 years? And he said, no, it's about living really well and then it ending. It's not having a degradation of your, of your being so that you suffer in the end. It's basically like you live a really long life for a long time and then it's over. So when you say don't die, do you really mean let's not die? Or what is it? Like, be specific what you mean about don't die. There's also like the philosophical perspective that, I'm going to forget the name, but, Ryan Holiday talks about it a lot. It's not Amor Fati, I don't think, but it's basically like death gives meaning to life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
if let's imagine we go back to the year 0. So this is like, and we start asking people years for the past 2,024 years. We ask 100 people every year, what is the meaning of life? And we do that every single year for 2,024 years. The answers that those 100 people give us per year is not going to be truth in any given time. It's not like you're discovering new laws of physics or new mathematical theorems. You're just understanding what is the cultural zeitgeist of that moment. So if you're a Roman, you answer like, if you're a Spartan, so you just answer like whatever is that emergent in that culture. Right. No meaning of life that any human ever states is ever true. It's an emergent social cultural phenomena of that moment that are so imbued in that moment. And what was true with our meaning of life is they basically said, whatever they said was the reach of the technological potential of that given time. Like they said whatever could be possible.
Yeah, yeah.
But as technology moved forward and people's imaginations became bigger, they got more expansive. And so what Sinclair is saying is, he's saying in his understanding of reality in the year 2024, that's what a Homo sapien could think of. Mm-hmm. And what I'm saying is, in this broader context, when you zoom out and you look at the situation of where we're at in building artificial intelligence, it's about to probably expand faster than anything we've ever seen in history. And we no longer know what is possible. And so, like, just to make this very practical, when I went to college, I could decide what to study and what to major in, what I was going to do as a career, do that for a certain duration of time and then retire. So I can roughly map out, like a 70-year, 80-year lifespan. My son just started college, and in his first year, he studied math, physics, and CS. So now he's trying to decide, he's taking stock of what he's going to do in life. He can't even see the world 2 years from now. He has no clue what kind of skills will be valued. Like, what is AI going to do?
Because everything's moving so fast right now. You're saying, like, what will it be?
Yeah, like AI is increasingly doing more things that humans are doing. Like, will AI do all the software programming? Yeah. Will AI be better at math? Will I be better at physics? Will it be better at writing? Like, will journalism go away? Like, how does anyone, when they're 18 years old, decide in this moment what they want to do for a career? It's impossible.
That might be part of a conundrum for many.
Exactly. And so this illustrates the point that the future has come in so close to our perspective, we can't see anything, which also means that none of us can express any opinion about the future, even a year or two. Like, that's like, we can model out and say, we can take the certain patterns and say, we think patterns are going to be like this. And like some patterns, like, is the earth going to warm? Like, you can like say, here are the inputs for that. Here's why we think the model is true. But for other things, like what will humans do, for a living, no one has any idea. And so don't die is basically, in short, it's the only thing that any human on this planet knows at this moment.
That will happen.
That none of us want to die in this moment.
True.
That's it. Like, that's the only thing that we humans agree upon. It's the only thing we want right now. We can't even say we don't want to die in 20 years. We may. But again, we do things like we smoke cigarettes, so don't die is basically, it is a observation that it is literally, we are humbled to a point where that is the only intelligent thing we can say as a species in this moment.
Are you spiritual at all?
I mean, like, what is spiritual? It's like, it's a word that means something different to everybody.
I actually often contemplate this idea of objective reality and whether or not objective reality exists. I also then package this with a question of, like, can I actually see you, or do I only see myself through you?
Yeah.
Like, do we ever even see anyone else, or are we truly our own universe experiencing itself through mirrors?
Yes.
What do you think?
Yeah, I recently read this book on free will by Sapolsky. And he talked about the question from free will from the vantage point of like neuroscience and quantum theory, and like he just maps out every potential perspective, because he says that every discipline parses the free will question through their own narrow discipline. But to understand the whole question, you have to take all of these disciplines and account for all these variables, and then you can actually speak intelligently about free will. And I was listening this morning to David Deutsch's book on like parallel universes. So in the same situation, like in any moment when a certain question comes up, to me, I try to size it up and say, can I say anything intelligent about this given topic? Or should I not say anything, because I know...
To learn, you have to say dumb things, kind of.
Yeah, I guess like for example, with free will, like what do I think about free will? I know enough about free will from reading his book to dare not say anything, because I haven't mastered that knowledge yet. And anything I would say will be parroting what he's written, but in some inadequate way. And so I guess I can say what I think about free will for the function of social cohesion, like we're having a conversation, but like for the purposes of stating an opinion that other people would then mimic or parrot otherwise. So,
God, you're such a scientist. Like I'm coming to the conclusion, as you being a man that's the most tested and measured. This is so common when it comes to someone that is like reliant more on data and is looking at numbers, that there actually isn't always an answer. Like it's and you're even remiss to even give your opinion, to be honest, because it's just not rooted. So is that accurate? Am I
exactly right? I mean, because and I'm probably like,
how do you have these philosophical dinners then? Do you just watch everyone else talk?
Yes.
You do. You cheater.
I do.
You have to.
I do. I ask questions and I curate. And so I try to be like a traffic person, where I just make sure that everyone's speaking the right amount of time, not too much, not too little. Everyone's participating. It's just like human dynamics, so that everyone feels engaged. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh my God. So you don't even give your opinion. I got you. I nailed you.
At the very end.
You do?
Yeah. But I guess what I'm trying to do is like, so I'm trying to say, like, in everything I say, I'm saying like, hey, humans, we have this amazing future in front of us. And it could be the coolest opportunity that Earth has presented in 4 billion years. Like literally on that scale, the coolest thing in existence, like as far as we know in the galaxy, as far as we know. Now, in between us getting access to this really cool thing, we have a bunch of stupid, right? Like, and the stupid starts right here with each one of us. Like, we're all stupid.
And the, cognitive dissonance and all the things that get in the way of us being, our patterns and stories.
Exactly.
All of that stuff, like, has to get reprogrammed.
Exactly.
And there is definitely, I can see like a crack here of like, I get it. Like, we need to be open-minded.
Yes.
And we need to like allow in some new information. And we also need to just shift the perspective to going, this could be amazing.
Yeah.
Because right now it remains in a state, looking as though it's scary.
Yeah, exactly.
For a lot.
I agree.
And I would be one of them.
I agree.
What has been some of the most incredible, because there's supplements and then there's like modalities, right? There's treatments, and you do both, I'm assuming,
I do,
right?
yeah.
Okay. So what have been some of the most incredible like modalities that you have tried, treatments and modalities?
It really is a power law game. So the power laws are sleep, diet, and exercise.
In that order?
Yes. I would put them in the order. And the reason I do is because if you sleep well, you're more likely to exercise. If you exercise, you're more likely to have a good diet. Now, I'm not sure. Actually, that second one, hold tight. I don't know if that's true or not. When I sleep well, I'm willing to exercise. When I don't sleep well, I don't want to exercise. And then like when I exercise, I do feel like I'm on a positive trend that I want to take care of myself. And so, those three things. So it's very hard, I think, because sleep, diet, and exercise are the power laws, but they're also the hardest. And so oftentimes when people size up the difficulty of getting good sleep, they'll be like, I just want to take a pill. And even if the pill is not that effective, they'd rather be doing something positive for their health than nothing. So it's almost like a cope that.
Sure.
Yeah. But then like in front of sleep, you've got like all your social events, you have all your personal habits, you have all your demands of work, children, like there's so many things competing for sleep. I get sleep.
Even your glass of wine to relax, which could have some benefits, but it definitely reduces sleep, right? So
exactly. Yeah. So those so my routine, I'll quickly run through it. So the day begins the night before. I go to bed at 8:30. I try to be on.
Sometimes me too.
Do you? You said 9?
I mean, yeah. Last night I was passing out at 8:45.
Yeah.
I tried to watch Joe Rogan's Netflix special.
Yeah.
And I literally got to the last 5 minutes and I woke up and it was just Netflix rolling like videos of different things I could watch. I'm like, I literally missed the last 5 minutes.
Oh no.
It was like 8:45.
Yeah. How was it? How was the special?
It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. It's really, he makes fun of himself pretty well.
Yeah.
Of all of his loves to learn about aliens and hope they're here and all the fun he poked at COVID and everything like that. So it was good.
Yeah. That's always a crowd pleaser is self.
Totally self-deprecation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, so you go to bed 8:30.
Yeah. And then, I recorded, I think, the best sleep score in recorded history. 8 months of perfect sleep.
What?
Yeah. 100%. So I wanted to do like a 4-minute mile or flying an airplane across the Atlantic. I wanted to demonstrate in modern society that you
did it with those things as well?
No, I'm saying like, when a human does something that people didn't realize was possible.
Right.
And so
one night of a perfect score is difficult.
Exactly. So 8 months in a row, I wanted to show like you.
Were you really bored?
No.
Oh.
No, I'm busier now than I have been in my entire life.
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. So sleep every night. I try to get a perfect score every single night. And then I do a series of things. I'll wake up, I'll do bright light in my eyes. I wake up before the sun. I wake up around like 5. So I'll do 10,000 lux in my eye. I'll do my inner temperature. I measure my body temp every day. I weigh myself on the scale, looking at body, fat, muscle, hydration, etc.
You have like an in-body or something like that in your house or something like that? Or is it just a scale
just
with...
a scale, yeah. Then
I feel like in-body could probably send you one of those things.
Yeah, it probably could. Yeah, I've done DEXA and MRI. Like we've quantified my body so much that...
Well, really then it's also just about having a set point and then the delta from it.
Yes.
So like when you just jump in once and try something, you want to probably have something pretty qualified to do a good job.
Yeah.
But once you have like a gauge and then you do it over and over and over again, that delta is a really good indicator. It doesn't have to be the most sophisticated thing.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I'll work out for an hour. I'll do I'll do the blueprint stack. So this is like when we started building the diet, we tried to get into base it on all the evidence, and we'd source all these foods and supplements, and then we would test them.
Oh. For like metals and things like that, just to make sure they were clean,
pure,
and bioavailable.
Exactly. Well, yeah, like they say something's in there. Is it true?
Right.
Right.
Totally.
And if it is true, is it clean or is it dirty? And
Are a lot of things out there bullshit?
Oh, like we started testing. It's disastrous.
Like I've heard things like sometimes products only have to have maybe 4% of something to say it's the product or whatever. Like it's a racket out there.
Whatever you think, it's worse. It's so bad.
Wow.
And even companies that would basically say like, we test for heavy metals and here's our heavy metal report. We test it and guess what? Like they have really high heavy metals. It's not what they say. And so it's really, really bad. I learned you cannot trust anyone.
Oh, great.
So we built so basically as I started building this for myself, we started sourcing ingredients ourselves. So we tested everything. And then friends were like, I want access to it. I'm like, great. So we just built a product out of it. So now we have a whole product stack that I take every single day. We test all of it with third parties. We share those third party results publicly. So you don't have to trust us on anything. Just like, here's the report. So I take my blueprint products. I work out for an hour. Then I'll get ready for the day, have my second meal as I'm working, have my third meal by 11 a.m., work the rest of the day, then have a nighttime routine, and then go to bed.
You finish eating really early though, right?
11 a.m.
I mean, I might be able to run that program because I am always hungry at the beginning of the day.
Yeah.
And by the end of the day, I could eat dinner at 4 p.m. and just go to bed at 9 and not care, which is still pretty early. But you find that food really affects your sleep that much that you eat that early?
Yeah.
So what happens if you eat food and you go to bed? What happens if you just like, you have your night snack or you just like eat really late?
Yeah. It's so predictable. Yeah. I know, I've done this now for years.
Yeah.
So I have like hundreds of experiences. I know so my heart rate will go from roughly 46, 47 to 56, 57.
Wow. So your HRV goes way up.
So my resting heart rate goes up by 10 points.
Huh.
And when that happens, my sleep will go down by 35%. My HRV will go down by 15 to 20%. My respiration rate will go up by like 5-7%. So it's it's so predictable. Like the body is a system, and it's very predictable. And so when you eat, it just creates a big metabolic load for the body. They have to like digest this whole thing. It changes your blood glucose. It changes your melatonin expression. Like it just changes all of your systems. And so I always try to make this a very soft point because everything I do is so contrary to cultural norms. That's why I think it's like why people get so aroused by me of like, I just don't do what others do and I make their life. They're triggered.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because they're not doing it, nor do they have the discipline, right? I mean, these are two things that peak in people's emotional body when they see someone that is so regimented and that is doing all of these things is they're like, I can't do that. And they don't have the discipline in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, people can do it.
Sure.
They absolutely can. And I guess like the fun thing is that most people, they look at me and then the automatic assumption is that I must be miserable. You know, that
that 8 months of perfect sleep score, you were not partying. You weren't staying up late, I mean, I think that would read in a lot of people's minds as something where, you were taking away from the joys of life of, having drinks at night and going to a game somewhere or dancing late or something like that, having some drinks. Those are all things that people look forward to. I mean, I think there's probably quite a large portion of the country that literally lives for that. Their jobs are unfulfilling and they're not happy and they live for the night or live for the weekend. So they think to themselves, like, you must be so bored. You must be miserable.
Yeah.
So it's just not what gives you joy, though.
Yeah, exactly.
You're a scientist.
Yeah, well.
The numbers give you joy. 100% in the morning gives you joy.
Well, so it's like, I hear what you're saying. So basically, yes, people think exactly like you just said, right? Like they say, if I can't drink and stay up late and do the following things, then I don't know how I would experience joy.
Right.
Right. But we know, like, humans have existed for a very long time, and they've done a whole wide variety of activities, many of which generate joy. So, like, we can generate joy in so many ways.
That's right, yeah. Cooking or walking the dog or...
Like, so many things. Like, it's endless.
Yeah.
And so, it's just like, it's just a limitation of the imagination to think that if I don't do the things that are common in 2024, that somehow, as a biological species, I can't experience joy.
I just had a thought that came to mind that I don't know if you'll answer or not, but you're thinking about joy, thinking about things, and I was thinking about sex. And like, have you tested what it is to like have sex, to like orgasm, to ejaculate, and like what that does to your sleep or what that does to any biomarkers?
We haven't specifically done sex. Yeah. It's a good question though. We should do it.
Because especially for men, they say that it's like really good to hold back.
Yeah.
Like for women, it's not the same, but for men that there are benefits to that, to your sort of a little more metaphysical, but maybe your chi or your energy or something like that, that there are health benefits to it. So I guess we'll all look forward to that study.
I mean, so I did measure my nighttime erections though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
what made them better?
Yeah. So females and males both have nighttime erections. It's just easy to measure men's because it's much more accessible. And so it was accidental we started this, but we were measuring all these markers on my body. Like, what is the biological age of my heart? So I'm 46, but what is the biological age of my heart? Because your biological age can be different than your chronological age.
Totally.
And so we accidentally stumbled upon nighttime erections and we started looking at the scientific literature. And so it's called nighttime tumescence.
Okay.
And it's a meaningful age indicator. So when you're young, you have a lot of erections. And then as you get older, they increasingly go down until there are none.
Okay.
And so it represents physiological health, sexual health, and cardiovascular health. And so when I started, there's this little device. It's like a centimeter cubed. You put it on the base of the penis. Once you have it on, you just forget it's on. It's like it's easy. My baseline measurement was 132 minutes, which was about average for a 46-year-old. So I was 4 erections over the entire night, 132. We looked at the evidence and said, how do you actually increase nighttime erections? And we did a few therapies, and then we increased the erections to an average of 179.
Okay.
So that's 8 minutes shy of the movie The Titanic. To give you perspective.
That's a long time.
And that's better than the average 18-year-old. And so like what we were trying to do really is to show this process.
Okay.
Because
that was all the things that you were doing to help your sleep that improved that? Or was there one thing that you can identify that was the needle mover for that? Sorry.
Good, yeah.
Pun intended in the end.
Yeah, well, we did 2 therapies for it. We did focused shockwave therapy.
Oh, yeah. I've heard that's incredible for size, too.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly.
I'm friends with Ben Greenfield, so,
There we go.
We learn about, you know who Ben is?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Ben's a friend.
Yeah, because he did a big, like, New Year, New Dick or something like that for, like, some magazine. Anyway, okay, shockwave therapy. Sounds really scary, but it's basically a wand that it feels like air.
Yeah.
It feels like air penetrating, but it's a wave, shock wave. I've used it for my body for just like fascia work and things like that. It helps break things up and essentially allow your tissues to reorganize in a more organized matter and smooth thing. Anyway. So,
yeah.
Okay. So.
And then we did Botox.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Botox?
Yeah, Botox. Yeah. It increases blood flow.
What?
Yeah. There's like 1,000 or like 100.
Sorry, what?
There's 100 off-label uses of Botox.
I know it can be for sweating, like sweaty hands or
hair
something
growth.
like that. Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
But so Botox doesn't allow a muscle to move.
Right. Yeah.
So.
But just like it, it helps on sweat, helps on hair growth. Like there's a whole bunch of things.
Okay.
But we did those 2 therapies. What we were really trying to do.
So where was it placed then if you did Botox?
Oh, yeah. There's a whole guideline I published the guideline.
Okay.
Yeah. But you need to make sure your doctor knows.
You think?
Like you can't just poke the penis and inject it. It's got to be done correctly.
Well, I mean, just like when you get it done in your face, they can't just go, there you go. And,
exactly.
They have to know where to put it and how much and how deep to go.
Yeah, but important disclaimer, don't Botox your dick at home. Not a good...
No dick Botoxing parties, guys. It'll be all the rage. Because there used to be girl Botox parties. I don't know if they're so common anymore, but maybe those would become more popular.
Totally reasonable. You see dick Botox parties. We heard it. Let's do it.
Wow. Okay. Botox and shockwave therapy.
Yeah. But we were trying to show basically what is this entire project about? Because you can talk about measuring the heart and what age is it, and they do therapies to improve it, and people are like, don't care. But if you say I made my dick have more boners, and people are like, what?
Yeah. People are definitely going to want to know that part right there.
So we were trying to demonstrate what are we doing, and then you can actually take an approach where you can measure something.
Yeah.
You can look at scientific evidence, and you can measure again, and you can see whether it worked. And so that is so interesting because otherwise, the way information is conveyed is I have a friend who did blank, and they say blank. And then people are like, oh, damn, that sounds cool. I think I'll do blank. And it just spreads.
Yeah,
and that's where most of the health and wellness world sits at that layer.
Totally.
Without this
let someone else
process.
do the research.
But it's not even no one even references data. And so I was trying to show there's actually science and data that are really helpful. That we didn't have to we make fewer errors potentially.
Yeah.
Or more concrete in what we say.
So what other things did you love as far as the modalities go? We kind of heard about the arc of your day, but then shockwave therapy and Botox for the penis. Okay. Yeah. More erections at night, more 18-year-old life. What other kind of things?
I did my first longevity gene therapy.
Oh my God, I totally want to know about gene therapy. Did you do the superhuman one? The one that Ben told me about it. It's basically it gives you it helps lean muscle mass and energy. Yeah. It lasts for 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it a deal con?
Made by Minicircle.
Tell me more about that gene therapy because this is going to be the new wave, right? I think gene therapy is probably the most emerging technology that's going to become, a big, powerful mover for us.
Yeah, if we diet, sleep, and exercise will get you so far. And like they're good foundations to have, but we're not going to punch through the lifespan ceiling of like 120-ish by doing these things. We need more powerful therapies. So we studied gene therapy for 2 years.
Okay.
And we couldn't get comfortable with the safety. And so then when we started talking about Minicircle last year, I did the therapy in September of last year. I did a baseline measurement, and we were looking at my full statin levels. So after my therapy, my levels increased by 160%. So that was 2 weeks post-injection.
And what level is, you said a statin level? So what does that mean?
Full statin is the protein they're trying to increase. So I had full statin levels, but the gene therapy is basically, it's helping your body express more follistatin, because higher levels of follistatin help you achieve these results. And so we were trying
of more lean muscle mass, of energy.
Yep. So
basically youthfulness, right? You're just going back to a higher lean muscle mass, easy, right? Something like that.
Yeah, we were trying to measure like 30 organs, because like one of the things you do is like when a given therapy is tested for a given thing, you can isolate those variables, but oftentimes you don't see where else it works, because you're not measuring it. Mm-hmm. And so with this gene therapy, like the idea is, it could potentially help in having greater muscle. It could potentially help in the following things. Yeah. But there's this much broader question. If you're measuring all these other things, what might the effects be, good or bad? And so we've been looking at this from a holistic perspective, which is cool with our measurement profile, that we actually can take this much bigger look. But like one thing that was cool, it lowered my speed of aging a bit, which was cool. And then I increased muscle mass by 7%, which was big.
I think that's what Ben said too.
Yeah, which is big. So I'm already in the top 1 percentile.
Oh, wow.
So it's already like almost maxed out for ideal. So even then, without changing any of my routines, I still increased in muscle mass.
I love that. I mean, that's what you want. How you work out every day for an hour? Mm-hmm. I used to work out every day.
And no?
I work out 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And I get way more benefits.
Yeah.
All I do is lift.
Yeah. Do you do any cardio? Yeah. What do you do for lifting?
I'm hypertrophy.
Yeah.
So we do a new program every 3 weeks, so that it allows you to increase the weights each week. Yeah. Otherwise, it would get pretty hard at some point in time to continue to increase your back squat, right? Yeah. Like you flatten out at some point.
Yeah.
And so, and we go through sort of different rep schemes. Sometimes it's 4 sets, sometimes it's 6 sets, sometimes it's like I'm on a 5-4-3-2-1 right now, but then before it would have been 6-4-2 within it. Anyway, it's always getting shuffled about, but just 3 hours lifting 3 hours a week and walking.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So like walking and lifting, just pretty simple.
That's it.
Yeah. How do you feel?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I did do yoga the other day with a crazy teacher, and I was like, I'm a little tighter than I used to be.
Yeah.
Some stuff, but even that wasn't that bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you been measuring anything, like your muscle or?
Yeah. I mean, for the last year where I train out, we do it every 3 weeks with the program. Yeah. So I have more muscle and less fat than I ever have. Yeah, for sure.
Good job.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah, but it is hard. Yeah. And it's a puzzle with the food and, just getting the right amount and making sure your protein is high enough. I don't know if that's difficult for you or not, but I just eat the shit out of meat.
Do you?
Eggs.
Yeah.
Chicken.
Yeah.
Steak.
How'd you land on that?
That diet.
Yeah.
Because I had tried so many others, because I had tried to be more plant-based, at least like pescatarian plant-based.
Yeah.
And, it was the least satiated, the least energetic, and the least healthy I ever was. And so in the end, I had super duper high metal levels. Thyroid. Now I take thyroid medicine. Hormones.
Are you hypo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The hormones were in the tank. Just basically like system shutdown. And for various reasons. I'm not going to say it's just the diet or just the working out, but I worked out too much. I didn't eat enough protein. I didn't eat enough variants of foods probably that I needed, or at least the nutrient profile wasn't correct.
Yeah.
And then just maybe trying to do too much, right? Also, the body just can't. I just realized couldn't handle too many stresses in one day. Like I used to think that there were just separate buckets of everything. It's like, and you can just tap into each of them. Like, oh, there's the mental bucket, and then the physical one, and then the emotional one, and then anyway, it's all the same. It's all the same system. And so now I try not to do more than like 2 difficult things a day. So like I worked out this morning and I'll do these interviews, but I won't do cold plunge. I'm not going to do sauna. I'm not going to do, because they're all stressors. So I try and, if I have therapy at some point, I've gone through therapy. It's like therapy and a workout is all I'll do. Or maybe it's just therapy and cold plunge that day. Like I just try and limit it to less stresses on the body.
How does it differ than when you were racing?
Well, I would work out every day I possibly could, sometimes twice a day.
Yeah.
Racing was stressful. Yeah, I just used to stress my body out so much more, and to the point where I couldn't do it anymore. Yeah. Do you find that have you noticed that about yourself, or do you feel like you ever get to the body too stressed, or if you do, what happens?
I think I do what actually opposite of cultural norms in almost everything I do. So I work out every day, and most people have like certain days on, certain days off. I love being in the gym every day. I
love the gym too.
I feel better.
Yeah.
And it's a combination of cardio, strength, flexibility, and balance. My body just feels loose and it feels energized. I'm vegan, and then I only do 110 to 120-ish grams of protein. Yeah, so I think most men I know, the general idea is they're in like the 150 to 200, 250 range. Like they just pound protein.
Yeah.
Like there's like this general rule, like you just can't get enough protein. And then I think a lot of people, that I'm also doing caloric restriction. So I'm 10%, so I'm doing 2,250. So an hour a day and vegan and caloric restriction and low protein. And so it's kind of the opposite of what everyone thinks you should be doing. And I potentially have better biomarkers than everyone. Or if people do have better biomarkers, then I don't know about them.
Yeah.
Now, if they did, it'd be great. I'd love to know what they're doing. This is not like this is the only way to do it. This is just an example of it's a way of doing it, and it produces some outcome.
Sure.
And so I've tried to be open to this to say, like, here's what I'm doing, like entirely. You do it too, and do your own version, and then share your results, and let's compare. Like, I want to learn as fast as everyone else.
Yeah.
But
because it would be presumed that you would need a calorie surplus to increase lean muscle mass to some degree.
Exactly.
Or at least enough protein to be able to feed the muscle.
Exactly.
So I try and eat at least my body weight. So I try and eat, at least over 100 grams of protein a day.
Yeah. So
and I don't necessarily count anymore, but there have been times where I've definitely counted macros and weighed everything.
Yeah. So we're eating probably the same level of protein.
Probably.
Yeah.
Right? Should we arm wrestle?
Let's see. Come on. Let's see. Yeah. That's good. Wow. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
He won, everybody. He just didn't finish. Yeah. Okay. So, diet, the gene therapy.
Yeah.
What other things? What other?
I don't cold plunge, and it's not because cold plunge does not have health benefits. It's because it doesn't have the evidence to suggest it is in a power law for longevity.
Okay.
And so my objective is so specific.
True.
We don't just
longevity,
say like general health. We just say like,
it's not like energy of the day necessarily.
Exactly.
It's like biomarkers and longevity.
Exactly.
Basically,
So we filter very, very hard on that, because otherwise, when you say when you're in general health, you have a menu of 1,000 things to do. Then you're like, how do you choose what to do?
Yeah, it's true. It's just, if you don't stay narrow, it's too hard to know what worked and what didn't work.
Yeah. So then we're trying hyperbaric oxygen therapy.
So boring.
Yeah, exactly. So
I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I had one at my house, just a soft chamber.
Yeah.
So boring.
Yeah. So we're going to do a 90-day experiment. So I've done all these measurements
every day for 90 days.
3.
Or how many hours are you trying to log?
So it's 6 hours a week at pressure.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, at 2 atmospheres to repeat the protocol.
Oh, 2. So you're in a hard chamber.
Yeah, hard. Yeah.
Because a soft chamber might be like 1.2 or something like that. It's not that much, which also was why I was like, I mean, if I was really getting a benefit, fine. But I was like, for me to sit in here for 2 hours, so bored.
Yeah.
But Dr. Amen's a doctor that I've interviewed as well as become friends with and talked to many times. And when I was going through my health stuff, there's 2 things that he recommended for me when I finally got to the point, because I was detoxing metals and mold and working on hormones, taking tons of pills and doing tons of things. And I finally was told that if you get to an emotional point where you just can't take it or you're feeling depressed or something, let me know. And every day I'd be like, no, I'm good. And then all of a sudden it was just like, what am I doing? And I just lost it. And I just couldn't do anymore. And he said, hyperbaric chamber and EMDR. He's like, make a list of your top 10 traumas, go into therapy, go through the list, and do hyperbaric. And in his opinion, those were the two big hitters for just, getting the body back to a better place, and also emotionally.
Yeah. How'd it go?
Well, I did really good with the EMDR.
Yeah.
God, that's amazing. Have you ever tried it?
I haven't.
Have you done therapy at all? Or Tried?
Yeah.
Don't like it?
I've just never found the right dialogue.
It's definitely a much more of a speaking sort of, little less back and forth and a little bit more sharing for sure. Maybe you'd like EMDR because it's just a modality, right? So it's basically, I can't remember exactly what it's like, a rapid eye movement, something or another. Yeah. My therapist would sit me down. She'd hear, what was my trauma? And you go to the exact moment, you talk about it, and she'd be like, okay, notice this. And there was 2 buzzers, one in each hand. And you sit there and you close your eyes, you take a deep breath, and she just starts the buzzer, and it goes bzz, 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 bzz in your hand, and you just sit there. And it's like you're transported. Like if you can empty your mind well enough, where you're just like a meditation, where you empty your mind and you just leave it all open to potentiality, all of a sudden you start to see the story. But like you see it from your maturity level that you are at now, from your awareness level, like an observer. Anyway, so it's a fantastic. You might really enjoy it because it's a little bit more of an immediate. You go in and you're like, "What's the charge in this?" And you're like, 8 out of 10. Then you get done and you're like, wow, it's like a 4 out of 10 now. It's so there's some measurements that you can draw from it. In the process, but I really liked it. So when do you start your hyperbaric process?
2 weeks.
Have you ever tried EBU? It's like a blood dialysis, basically, where you pull blood from one arm, goes through a filter, ozone, goes in the other arm. I love that one. That's one that I've tried that I really like.
I did it like a year ago, before my current project.
So how about supplement-wise? I know obviously you have Blueprint, and you take so many supplements that you try to help yourself and help others whittle it down to not so many different bags of things. But I'm curious what works the best when it comes to supplements. Yeah,
so with the Blueprint stack, I basically just built what I take. It's 74 therapies in 400 calories. So it's 8 pills, 1 drink, protein meal, and extra virgin olive oil. And so we basically tried to get all the power laws from the evidence into just one daily routine. And so I do take a few extra pills in addition to that for like probiotic and prebiotic stuff. But generally, it's just 8 pills, 1 drink, and you get all the therapies. So there's basic things like vitamin C, vitamin E, glycine. There's more advanced things like fisetin, calcium alpha-ketoglutarate. So it's just like it's the best of the best in the world of longevity. It's almost like a longevity multivitamin, where every single ingredient is tied to a clinical. It's built on over 1,000 clinical trials. And so every single supplement is based upon clinical evidence at a clinical grade dose. So it's not skimming, it's not pixie dusting. And so it's like basically what modern science has to offer.
I'm going to make you pick a few though. Like there's got to be like a few supplements that, really help the most. Like I've recently started taking like a Shilajit resin in the morning. I'm like, holy shit, that works. Like that is energy. And I am already high energy. So every now and again you come across a supplement where you're like, man, this works. So if you only had to pick like 3,
you're going to be so unsatisfied with my answer.
Damn it.
Because it depends on if you've got, so the most important 3 to you are your deficiencies.
For me.
For anyone.
For anyone.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then like if you have your deficiencies, so if all those things are solved, then that's why it really is like this comprehensive approach. There's not just 1 or 2 or 3. And I know that's like in people's minds.
Yeah.
Like when they listen to this podcast, they're like, oh, it's blank. But like, I just don't want to spread incorrect information. It's not just blank. Yeah, it's not just like one thing. It's not.
Okay, well then what gives you the most energy? What thing do you take that gives you the most energy?
More energy.
Do you drink coffee?
I don't.
Missing out on one of life's really great joys.
So I do love coffee for the first few days, and then I become addicted to it. and then I have to drink it to feel normal. So then I become a slave to it. So it actually, I hear you on the first few days, like in the novel honeymoon stage, and then it becomes codependency, then it becomes a really bad relationship.
Well, you're a slave to not drinking it then. That's another way to look at it.
Am I a slave and not drinking it? Is that true? Does that inverse work?
It's my psychology.
Yeah.
You must support my psychology.
Yeah, okay, all right, yeah.
But on some level, if you become dependent, then you have to be dependent on not drinking it.
Yeah, so I guess like when I drink caffeine, my mood roller coasters. And then like so I'm running several companies at the same time, and I'm also trying to figure out like, what do we do as a species? Mm-hmm. And so anything that impairs my judgment is the ultimate threat to me. So like when you're sleep deprived, if you go, I think, more than 18 hours of sleep, your impairment is equal to 0.05 to 0.1. Like you're almost legally drunk after like 18-ish hours, 16 hours of not getting sleep. And so in that moment, you're not in a good place to make high quality decisions. And like, so we all kind of depend upon each other to make high quality decisions. Like the person driving the bus on the road, and the person in the car, and politicians, and like your teacher, your children's teacher. Like we all want everyone to make good decisions. But when we're sleep deprived, we make bad decisions. When we're hungover, we make bad decisions. When we're not,
the eggs and bacon are necessary. It's not a terrible decision.
But like these, like if you could measure, like this is what I'm saying is like, I know like we're immersed in our social cultural norms. We're basically drunk as a society.
Party on. Well, I want to know how you're going to deal with this at Burning Man when I see you there. How are you going to deal with less sleep?
Yeah, it's going to be 72 hours. And I'm working very hard to try to maintain a routine.
What?
Yeah.
Which will be what?
Okay, so for example, I did 8 months of perfect sleep. And to break that, I did a DJ set with Steve Aoki.
That's so silly.
In Vegas.
It's such a big delta.
At 1 a.m.
That's how you broke it.
So I went to bed at 8 p.m. I woke up at midnight. I did the set with Steve until like 2. I went back to bed, and I still got like a 92% sleep score. So, I'm trying.
So do you drink any alcohol ever?
No.
Will you?
No.
Do you do drugs?
I don't.
So you just dance? Yeah. High on life?
Yes. I feel like the cost of doing those things, I feel terrible.
Even like mushrooms or something natural like that? Like, no?
Yeah, it just creates these huge waves of emotion. Like it's high, then you go out, low, and you dip back down. And so, yeah, I really like just this stableness. And I know that is like unthinkable to most people because they live for these things. But it's just, I really don't like how it makes me feel.
What about your attire? Will you change? Will you wear a Don't Die shirt, or are you going to wear a tutu?
Probably a tutu.
Yes. There we go. Yeah. Style will be kicked up.
Yeah. I'm very playful. Yeah.
No, you seem, obviously you have enough like playfulness and energy and curiosity and interest, and that you don't feel like you have to do all those other things.
Yes.
Which is great. And there's plenty, like at Burning Man, there's plenty of things to look at to keep you interested. The art is amazing. The people, what they're wearing.
Yeah.
The music's amazing. I mean, there's a lot to be stimulated. So I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying it's abnormal.
Yes.
I had mentioned something maybe before we started about you having like a pale skin. Like you never have a tan.
Yeah.
And then when I was listening to you, you had said that's because you're almost always doing some kind of facial treatment. So we've sort of talked about like modalities, and we talked about some, supplements. And so I'm curious about that, because this is on the outside, right? This isn't not looking at the biological age of your heart here. We're just looking at the texture of your skin, the elasticity, collagen. What have you found has been some of the best stuff for your skin when it comes to lasers, injectables, different things? I mean, maybe use Botox too, because if you're willing to put it on your penis, you're probably willing to put it on your face.
Yeah, no Botox in my face.
Okay.
Yeah. So here's the summary. So one is, we're trying to basically measure dye across my entire body. So your body dies a little bit every second of every day. Like in every moment we're dying. And so we were trying to see, like, could we measure my rate of death across my entire body? And then can you slow down that speed of death? And can you reverse the death, the aging damage? And so, for example, like my speed of aging right now, my clock, I celebrate my birthday every 19 months. That's how slow my speed of aging is now. Like we've just reduced exactly. So I just accumulate less damage than people who are otherwise at a normal life. And this is why also what I'm saying, like you can do all the party fun stuff, but you pay a direct cost of dye. Yeah. Like you definitely, and that happens, like you're creating, your skin is losing its youthful traits. So are your muscle and your body and your bone, like it comes in, I'm sorry, like I don't want to be a party pooper, but I know like we're all in this together. And when we do these things, it costs you youth very seriously. And so the sun costs youth. So I know this because I grew up in the sun. I was always in the sun.
Yeah.
We had no sunscreen. I got burned all the time. And it was culturally, you got rewarded for being tan. And so I got all kinds of sunburns. And so when I measured my skin at age 43, my skin damage was in the 98th percentile. So we use multispectral imaging. And so then we basically said, okay, like this is a really bad situation. How do we address my skin deficiencies? And skin is not just from the sun, it's also from the food you eat, and like it's a lifetime of damage accumulation. And so we've tried over the years every single thing. We've tried all lasers, all therapies. I'll share a few that we like. One is, I've been doing Tixel lately. It's thermomechanical ablation. So it's this titanium tip. It hits your skin at a few hundred degrees Fahrenheit. So just like quick heat, and it creates enough damage, then you create more elastin and collagen. And then I pair that with exosomes, immediately applied afterwards. Yeah, with a company called Chimera. So it's on my website. If you go to blueprint.bryanjohnson.com and go to my protocol page, I've listed everyone I work with and their phone number and their email address. So you can go there and say, hey, I heard you take care of Bryan Johnson. Give me the Bryan Johnson protocol, and they will. So all the stuff we've learned. So it's all for free. Sorry, their service is not for free, but all my information to you is free. So Tixel's great. I do it every 6 weeks. So
damn, you really are always healing.
Yes.
And also your skin's always going to be open to sunburning so much easier.
Exactly.
Just, yeah. Even after it's flaked off and healed, it's not healed.
Exactly. Like I have several bruises on my face right now from various things. Yeah. So
injections.
Yeah, because I did Sculptra.
You did Sculptra. Yeah.
So so Tixel's great. I'll get to the injectables in 1 second. Tixel's great every 6 weeks. I just started Softwave.
Yeah.
Yep. So
I've done Softwave like this area.
Yeah. It's
to
great.
Help with like just like tightening up the skin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even there's good evidence showing that when you do it towards the eyebrows, it's equivalent to like a millimeter brow lift.
Oh shit, put that.
Yeah. So so I just had my first treatment. It's too early to determine it, but
it's the one that's not as hot. You don't have to be numbed for it, right?
You do need to be.
You do.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I think there are kind of two of them. There's like one that's fairly aggressive, and then there's one that's not quite as aggressive that you don't have to actually be numbed for, I feel like. But.
Yeah. I went into this one not knowing I definitely needed to be numbed because I don't numb for anything. Okay. But this one, I was like, I'm not sure. Yeah. So SOS, WAV, that's number 2. I think those two I like them for safety and efficacy. When you deal with lasers, there's always a risk of hypopigmentation or like lasers are risky. And so it's not to say you shouldn't do a laser. Like some people that's a great call for you. Also, just be aware there's risk.
Yeah. I did a laser and I probably went in the sun a little bit too soon afterwards. Yeah. Like it would fully healed. It had been a couple weeks, but it's not really healed.
Yeah.
And then it's just like slightly hyperpigmented.
Yep.
And I was like,
yeah, it's very, very
And then
hard.
I'll have to do more laser to pull it.
Yeah.
Right. So now I'm going to be really careful to make sure that I don't let it, because it can take a long time for that to really heal.
Yeah. Or never. It's very, very, very hard. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So those two. And then when I first started Blueprint, caloric restriction was like one of the more interesting things to do for longevity. And I got very, very skinny. So I got down, I weigh 178 right now, and I got down to like 158. And so I just lost all the fat in my face.
Yeah.
And losing fat in the face, then you look old. Like it's like the biggest indicator. So I tried to basically rebuild all my fat in the face.
Yeah. How long have you been doing Sculptra?
I did my first injection like 12 months ago.
Yeah, for Sculptra is a biostimulator.
Yes.
It's not a hyaluronic acid that goes in and like actually it's not a filler.
Yes.
It goes in and it's done. They liquefy it. It's a powder. They liquefy it so that it can be distributed evenly underneath your skin. But it basically becomes the building block to get your signal your body to produce collagen.
Yeah.
But it produces a couple different kinds of collagen, one being scar tissue. And I've watched some things about it and because I did it. And I was like, I need to make sure I'm not going to make myself look weird. I've only done it once, but basically it helps your body stimulate collagen. And one of the kinds is scar tissue, but it just it's supposed to just firm up your skin, plump it up, add volume.
Yeah. On the scar tissue, I heard someone else say that we looked at the evidence. We couldn't find anywhere in the evidence.
Oh.
So if it is,
it has to do with the way that the fibers grow or the fibers go back together. It's kind of like slightly layered and like tighter as opposed to being like a basket weave.
Could be the case. We haven't been able to isolate if that's true or not. I know it's said.
Yeah.
And it could be the case.
Yeah.
We haven't been able to verify. But yeah, I do two vials every 6 months of Sculptra. I tried Renuva, so the fat, because
a fat transfer?
Yep. Huh. So I explored doing my own fat transfer, but I don't have enough fat. And so it was like the risk is it would like leave an indentation on my body.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Yeah, exactly. So I had to get a donor, and then I did it, and I had this allergic reaction, just blew up.
Like swollen?
Oh, like
and breakout too? Did you break out too from?
Just swollen, but like I couldn't even see out of my eyes.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so it was like a full 7 days to come down. So I can't do that anymore. So it was like Sculptra and then under eye PRF.
Oh, what's that?
You just draw the blood, you spin it up, separate blood and plasma, and you re-inject the plasma.
Oh, okay. And that's for just like underneath for volume?
Yes, because under eye is very hard because fillers are bad. Fillers are generally a bad idea.
Yeah.
But especially under the eye.
Yeah.
So I've done no fillers to my face. No surgery, no fillers.
Yeah.
Everything's been...
I don't like fillers either. I tried one time. I tried lip filler, like a quarter syringe, and I hated it. I like woke up in the morning and my lip looked swollen. I was like, this is stupid. But I do Botox. Yeah. And then I tried Sculptra.
You do Botox on the crow's feet?
Mostly just my forehead here. Oh, actually, I do it a lot of places now. Do it on the neck.
Yeah.
The neck is great.
Yeah.
For the, like all the platysmal bands.
Yeah.
Do like DAO muscles for like the chin as well for sort of like the downward. Yeah. Lip flip. So your lip sort of looks fuller. Forehead.
That's great.
All the Botox that I've done.
Yeah, I don't know what's the secret. It's like, I think it's great to talk about.
I mean, I think it's because there's an assumption, especially with women, that you're like, oh no, so I look normally. Just naturally like this, naturally beautiful.
It's weird. There's like almost like this shame that a company is doing things that would just be, that people want to keep it a secret.
Yeah. Hair. So that's another thing, especially for guys. I mean, I know that you've done a ton of stuff for hair growth. What's worked?
Yeah. I mean, I was basically bald. Yeah. So again, on my protocol website, I have my entire protocol there. Everything I use, the exact protocol, the practitioners, their names, their numbers, all of it's there.
Wow.
And so just in the past year, I think we figured out the best protocol yet.
Wow.
Yeah. But I can't believe how successful it's been. Like my
pictures. PRP, Botox.
Stop PRP. Yeah.
Stop PRP.
Yeah. I didn't do it because
red light.
Yes. Yep. It's also, it's a laser, a 1927 nanometer laser coupled up with some growth factors. Mm-hmm. So basically it is like PRP, but you don't have to draw the blood. And also you don't do the injections. Like the injections for PRP are so painful. Like stamping it out. And then I do oral minoxidil. So 3.75 milligrams. You need to be mindful of any side effects. So I started at 2.5 and slowly walked up. But some people will have side effects on that. I haven't had it yet, so doing that.
Like what?
I forget what they are. But we had, every time I'd start something, we create a new protocol guideline of like, here's what this thing is, here's what the expected benefits are, here's my baseline measurements, here's what the expected measurements are, here's the side effect list profile. So then we try to isolate these things. So we try to basically like, we don't confuse it with something else.
Yeah.
So you try to be very structured in this.
Well, that's how you get the science. So what happens if you couldn't do any of this? Like what would life be like for you if you couldn't do anything anymore?
Of my therapies?
Sure. Your therapies, you didn't have any more tools and tricks, you didn't have any more potions and pills. Nothing.
It's a cool experiment. I mean, that's a cool idea. Just like stop everything. But I know, I mean, I'm 46. Like I look back at myself at, like I went gray at 27 from all the stresses of life. It was a very stressful time in my life. You look at my biomarkers from age 43, I was in a really bad spot.
It would be interesting. Be interesting to see how long the efforts that you've put in and the protocols that you can do naturally. You know how to go to, you know what it does, you know what you need to do to go to, get good sleep. And like, how long would you be able to hang on to the rate, how fast you're aging? Would you have your birthday every 19 months still?
Exactly.
Or would it be every 18 months? Or would it be back to...
Or every 9 months.
9 months, exactly. Like, what would that be?
Yeah.
How long would you give yourself if you were to run that test? How long would you be willing to sacrifice?
Yeah, it depends on what the payout is. But
it's the knowledge.
Yeah. I mean, like, but I...
What do you mean payout? Get paid literally?
No,
or
just like the value creation.
Well, time. You'd free time up for yourself. You would perhaps drop away things that you don't need anymore because you realize you kept that aging. Perhaps maybe your joy would continue to go up.
Yeah.
You'd find more things that you could do.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, so like on the joy thing, like my son's 18. He's been going through this process. He's entirely on Blueprint. So his friends will they behave like 18-year-olds. Some of them do, like,
of course,
they'll do those. Exactly.
Of course.
And so, he's now lived in both worlds. Like he's lived in my Blueprint world.
Yeah.
He's lived in his friend's world. Yeah. And he's like, Dad, this world is misery. Like when my friends, like, the fast food stuff, they stay out late and they drink and they, do drugs and like that is misery. And this is happiness. And the world can't see it. Like the world is so convinced that this is happiness, that the fast food, drinking, staying out late, dancing, that's I love dancing, but like this like debaucherous stuff is life. And like he and I see eye to eye, we're just like, God, it feels fucking awful. Like it feels the worst. Like and over here we feel so great about life and we're so excited. And so it's really nice and that's true with a lot of my friends as well. We're just like, this whole situation was so insane that like somehow by our health habits, we're guilty until proven innocent. Like we're the ones that are odd people out. We have to demonstrate that like health is actually happiness. It's such an illusion that these other things are happiness. They're not.
There's probably some level of curation by the person to what brings you joy, but there is definitely something special about feeling good, and if you've never really felt good, which a lot of people probably haven't. Yeah. That to me seems like what you're also trying to teach people is like what it's like to really feel good.
Exactly. I just don't think they know. Yeah. But like you can't do this by telling somebody anything. Like you're never going to, right? Like they're doing their thing. That's fine. So that's what I'm trying to do is to be an example, to be like, here's an alternative way to exist. Mm-hmm. And if you're open to it, to just dip your toe into like just getting good sleep, just give it a go. Like see how you feel. Yeah. And if you like that, try a little exercise and try a little this and then try to like remove one bad habit, then try to remove another. And it's like, I don't know anybody who's really tried that and they've gotten there and they're like,
nope, not for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Turn it back.
Totally.
Back to the beer.
Yeah, it doesn't happen. Like no one goes back.
Yeah. You know what? It's interesting. It's kind of a little bit like almost a spiritual journey where when you get on the path of like, and by the way, you were reading something about parallel realities. You're 100% some spiritual to some degree. Yeah. Okay. Like you're not interested in that unless you're a little spiritual, in my opinion. But you get on the path and it's not always easy, but it's fulfilling. Yes. And it's like, there seems to be no other way once you get on it. And so perhaps health is really the same thing. So.
Yes.
Thank you for sacrificing your body and your time and your money and your mind and also, judgment too, right? There's so many people I'm sure that have had so many inaccurate judgments, whether it's that you're not happy or you're miserable or that it's, you're wasting your time. But all you're really doing is creating it, aren't you?
Yes. Yeah. And I appreciate it's fine. It's fun. It's great. I love it.
Yeah. You kind of like it too, don't you?
I love it.
You like being a little different.
Don't like being different. Okay. What I care about more than anything is I care about being respected by the 25th century. I don't care what anyone in this time and place thinks of me, because 99% of those who exist, 99.9% of those existing right now, are so consumed by the present, and the present is the past. Like, we're living out the ideas of dead people, and we think they're ours, we think they're novel, we think we're on the cutting edge of reality. We're not. Like, these are ideas that we inherited when we got born into this world. The 25th century is going to look at this moment like we look at the 15th century, and we're going to say they're very, very primitive, and we're so advanced. The 25th century is going to say the same thing about us. And so what I care about is to earn their respect, that they'll say, in his time and place, he saw it. Like, he actually saw through the noise and identified the future. And that's what I really care about. And so some people see it, like, it's my best guess, right? It's like, I'm trying to, above all, have the judgment to try to say, can I think and see clearly in some unique way? And so, but that's never going to win over popular opinion in the moment. It's just never going to happen.
No one that ever makes a really big difference was believed by all, and in fact, usually is looked at as being a little crazy.
Yeah.
So I think you're on track. You are a little crazy, but you're going to make it.
You think so?
A little bit, yeah. I can't imagine never having a glass of wine. I can't imagine not going to, a football game, or not staying up and going out to dinner with my friends and, sharing some drinks and stories. I can't, some of those things are important to me. So some of that's a little crazy for sure to have the regiment that you do. But who's anyone to say that you're not happy when everyone's different? So I respect that you know yourself well enough to say, this is what makes me happy.
Thanks. I mean,
I'm still going to try and get you to stay up late at Burning Man.
I mean, so we do all, my friends and I, we gather at night, we have tea instead of wine.
What do you do at your dinners, by the way?
Yeah.
If you have dinners, is it at dinner time?
I serve people food because people eat.
Do they end by 8 p.m.?
They do.
Okay. So you can get to bed at 8:30.
Start at 5, and then I go to bed at,
And you feed them, but you don't eat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You need to be having your dinners at 10 a.m.
But I feed them something very light. So you don't have to do what I do. It's just the principle to eat earlier and lighter.
Yeah.
But it's a very light dish.
Okay. Part of the protocol.
Yeah. I'm having one tomorrow night.
Are you?
You should come.
Oh, wow. Very interesting. Huh. All right. Maybe I will.
Thanks, everybody, for listening to the Pretty Intense podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like what you heard today,